So now we're looking at section 3.1 here in the Marine Science syllabus for IGCSE. It's here in the wonderful book, and what we're going over here is something if you've already done biology, especially IGCSE biology. This is a quite simplified version of their biology lessons, but it's really good, this short part of the syllabus. Even if you have done biology before, it's a good little review of it. So, as always, any mistakes here are minor alone, and this is completely non-commercial. This is made for my class, but if anyone can use it, you are welcome to do so. So this is how we always show a drawing of an animal cell in pretty much any textbook, and it's a beautiful drawing. It's also a lie. If you ever spend any time on a microscope looking at a cell, they do not look the way here they do in the textbook. They're only drawn this way to make it easier for you. Compared to biology, you have to know way less about the animal cell here than you do in, for example, IGCSE or AS biology. You have to know that the cells here are our basic blocks of life, and all marine organisms, both multicellular and single cellular, are built of cells. And in the animal cell here, you have to know this is a generalized animal cell, and each type of cell has adaptations for its role, but there are certain structures you'll find in each one, and the one we will be talking about later on here in this presentation are the cell membrane, the nucleus, the mitochondria, and the cytoplasm. We do know the other things, like pretty important thing like Golgi apparatus and the ribosome and the rough and smooth endoplasmatic reticulum, but they are not mentioned in the book. So if you know them, it's fine. If you don't stress about them. What is important are just the most basic structures here in a kind of model animal cell. So the basic structures we're talking about here are the nucleus, the cell membrane, the mitochondria, and the cytoplasm. If we start with the most important, it's actually the cell membrane. The cell membrane is what keeps the intracellular and the extracellular environment different, and that's super important. That's why a cell can stay alive, because we have different concentration gradients going over the cells. And if you study biology, this will become quite apparent why this is very important. So the cell membrane needs to be there to kind of be the guardian of the cell's internal chemical components. The nucleus is there as contains the DNA, which is arranged into chromosomes. That is surrounded by a nuclear membrane, and this is what controls the overall activity of the cell, and this is where we find the code for making new proteins and for making new cells. The mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. That's kind of like what we keep calling them, but it's reality what they are. They burn glucoses by the use of oxygen and thereby generating ATP, which is kind of the energy currency of the cell. And last we have the cytoplasm, which is the liquid part of the cell, and it's a part of the cell where all the different chemical reactions take part. And just a little marine joke or kind of trivia, the concentration in most animal cells, cytoplasm, is not far away from what you'll find in some brackish ocean water, which might be where life began many billion years ago. And this is how we usually draw a plant cell in any of the standard textbook. And again, if you spend any time looking at a microscope, they do not look this way. We draw them this way to make it easier for the students to learn the basic structures. And again, this is just a standard drawing here from a textbook, and you don't need to know that much to pass the marine science course here. What is important is to know that in the plant cell we pretty much have everything we'll find in the animal cell, but we just add 3 new structures. We add a cell wall, we add a chloroplast, and we add the large central vacuole, or the large permanent vacuole. Now plant cells are pretty amazing, to put it bluntly. They can really do amazing things, and A lot of the things we like here on Earth, like food and oxygen, are here because of plants. Now, the typical plant cell, as we show in the drawing, have these structures which are super important for life and for us to understand in marine science. And the most important are the chloroplasts. The chloroplasts are these small structures that, when hit by light, that these small green organelles have the ability to then absorb CO2 and water, and by using light energy, they can then convert this into oxygen and carbohydrates. So that is pretty important, and we're going to talk a lot about in marine science why algae, for example, are so important and why they need sunlight. We also have the cell wall, which helps keep plant cells way more rigid than animal cells. This is, for example, why trees can grow to 130 meters and animals can't. And last, we have the large permanent vacuole. Most plant cells contain this kind of big blob inside it when you look at a microscope. It's a membrane surrounding a watery solution known as sap, and this is where we can store things like carbohydrates before they need to be turned into something else, water, toxins, chemicals, so on. So it's kind of a storage part of the cell. It is like, my garage, the place where I can store stuff. The last drawing here is of a bacteria cell. Bacteria, or prokaryotes, are simple organisms, much smaller, but just because they're simpler and smaller than our big multicellular plants and animals doesn't mean they're any less efficient. Bacteria were here way before us, and they're probably going to be here way after we are gone. If you compare the standard drawing here of bacteria cell to our animals and plants, you can see there's something missing. And what's really missing is mainly that we don't have any cell core. We have no nucleus, we have no mitochondria, we have no chloroplast, we have no permanent vacuole. Although they don't contain a nucleus, bacteria cells do contain genetic material that's just floating around inside here in my bacteria cell. But we do find a cell membrane, we do find cytoplasm, and we do find a cell wall, and often, but not mentioned by Cambridge here, is we also have an extra wall called a capsule that helps protect the bacteria from the world on the outside. So although they are very, very simple organisms, bacteria and archaeas, the different prokaryotes, are very efficient, and they are able to reproduce very fast. Yes.